Welcome to another walkthrough video by True Social Marketing. My name is Adam, and this is going to be a simple walkthrough of the CRM Monday.com. Monday.com is a very commonly used CRM. In my opinion, it is the best CRM. I'm not being paid to say that. I've used multiple different CRMs over the years, Salesforce, Zoho, Pipedrive, HubSpot, Aptivo, a few other small ones. And typically what I find is, even though they say they've got a lot of customization, it's typically a very rigid structure in which you have to work in. There's a lot of functionality you end up having but don't need. It becomes very complex. It's really hard to get any type of support, and Monday.com bridges a lot of those gaps. Whether you're a company who's using Monday.com as your first CRM or migrating from a previous CRM, this video will give you the basics on how to use it. If you are looking for somebody to either set it up for you or teach you how to use the CRM, our company does offer that as a service. Please reach out to us at the number or the email shown on your screen right now. Someone would be happy to answer your questions. Our phone number is 866-993-1674. And our email's there as well, info@truesocialmarketing.com. You can always email your questions. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Now there's a lot of functionality to Monday.com, but the primary place you're going to be working is inside of workspaces, boards, and groups. And the best way to think about that is boxes within boxes. So as you'll see here, workspace encompasses all of your potential categories. Boards are subcategories inside of that, and then groups are subcategories inside of your board. So if you put this in context for something like a product, let's say this was Nike, your workspace would be Nike's product lines. Your boards would be the different products. Let's say this would be shoes, this would be shirts, this would be pants, and then the groups inside would be categories of those products. So if this was for shirts, this would be tank tops and t-shirts. So it's really the best way to think of this. Your primary workspace, subcategories, and then categories inside of those. So the first thing you want to do when you get into Monday.com is click on these 4 blocks right here that say Workspaces. And then once you're there, come up to these 3 horizontal dots and go ahead and click Add New Workspace. I'll title this Workspace 1. Once you have a workspace defined, next thing you want to do is go ahead and add a board. Like I said, a board is a subcategory inside of that. So the way that you do that is one of 2 ways. You can hit Add from Templates, and these are boards that are already pre-built to fit specific needs. I find that these can be helpful. It's not the way I like to build because this comes with a lot of additional things that I end up having to remove. But there are things on here like project boards, customers, leads, contacts. And if you're new to the CRM, this can be a good way to kind of look at what they have and then build off of that for ideas. But I think ultimately for any good CRM, building it from scratch is the best way because every business is very unique typically and the needs are never the same. So what we're going to do is instead of using a template, we're going to go up here to where it says Add, go to New Board. We're going to name that New Board 1. Privacy is down here. This is asking whether or not you want it to be for everyone that's on the Monday.com account, something that you can share outside of the account, or a private board, meaning only you or a select team can see it. For this purpose, we'll go ahead and keep it on main. And then down here, the item you're managing, there are a couple reasons this is here, but for purposes of what we're doing, what I'll say is that what you select here will be the name of the first column on the board. So you're going to have multiple columns in a row, and the first column on your left is going to be named based on what you select here, which is why I always do custom. And then I'm going to go ahead and put lead. It's going to be a lead board. But you can put whatever you like here, whether this is contacts, leads, projects, it really doesn't matter. So once you name your board, go ahead and hit create. Now that we've created the board, you'll see the title up here, and then below that you'll see group title and group title again. These are different colors. This is something that it automatically defaults to. It's just 2 separate groups inside of your board. So remember, boxes within boxes. You've got your workspace, your boards, and then your groups, which are categories inside of your board. So for this demonstration, I'll go ahead and add another group to show you how that's done. We'll go ahead and go down here to add new group, hit that, it will automatically create a new group. So as you can see, when I hover over this, it allows me to not only change the title, but it also allows me to select the color, which seems like a small detail, but from anyone who's used a CRM on a regular basis, this is actually a pretty big thing. Your eyes get used to patterns, and if you're able to keep those things consistent, it makes it much easier to stay organized. So I'm going to go ahead and change the title and the color of all three of these groups. For the purpose of what we're doing, I'm just going to go ahead and use these as stages in progress. Now these can be titled whatever you need for the subject matter. Alright, so I've got three different groups here, all of them different stages in progress, but again, you can label this whatever you'd like. And now once you've got your group defined, the next thing you want to do is define the columns within that group. Now just like it gave you two groups in a default, it's also going to give you these columns by default, so file, date, status, person. If you can use these, great. I'm going to go ahead and delete all of them though, so you can see what it's like to create from scratch. Okay, so as you can see, let's actually do one more thing here. Now we're down to just the one item. Okay, so as you can see here, the very first column, like I said, is named after what you titled it. So this is lead. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and put the name of the lead in. So to add a column, first thing you do is click this plus sign where it says add column. This will give you a brief overview of some of the columns you can add. I'm going to go ahead and click more columns to show you all of them. There's 5 different subcategories. There's essentials, super useful, team power up, board power up, and combos. We won't go into all of them, but I'll show you some of the basics. So I'm going to go ahead and add a checkbox to determine whether or not the client is an active client. So I'll go down to super useful, find checkbox, click add to board. So to edit the title, all you have to do is hover over it, double click, and then you can edit it. So I'm going to go ahead and put an A in here for active. Check that box. Now you can change the color of your check marks just like you can change the color of the group titles. The way you edit any column's specifics is to hover over it, click on the 3 horizontal dots, go to settings, and then whatever the settings are inside of that column you'll see there. In this case, it allows you to pick the checkbox. So I'm going to go ahead and make that purple. Okay, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is put in their website. So you'll find link down here. Go ahead and hit add to board. I'm going to double click on the title and make this website. Now once you have the website input, you'll notice it becomes an active link, meaning when you click on it, it will open up a web page and bring you to that site. And that is a through line on this entire CRM. So as you add phone numbers, emails, websites, GPS locations, anything like that, it will automatically become an active link and you'll be able to interact with those. So when you click on the phone number, it'll make an outbound call. If you have a desktop phone, if you click on the email, it starts an email, all of those things. So that's another one of the benefits of the CRM. So next thing I'm going to go ahead and add is type of customer. So we'll go ahead and use the drop down. So we'll go ahead and call this service. Now in my business we offer a few different services, but we'll just use a couple of them here. So for drop downs, the way that you add in the potential options is to simply click on the section below the title of the column, and it will ask you to create a label since there are none currently here. So I'll create one, another, Okay, so as you can tell, you can select multiples from your dropdown. So the dropdown in this CRM serves as two purposes. Typically, you have an either or dropdown and a multiple select. Monday.com has smartly combined those two because there's really no difference between the functionality. So you can choose one thing here, or if it's a multi-select, you can choose more than one, which in my business comes in handy very often. So we'll pick consulting and web design. So next thing I'm going to go ahead and put in is a phone number. After that, I'll go ahead and put in an email section. As you can see, like I said earlier, the phone number and the email are active links that you can click on. Next thing I'll put in is a location. And I'll put in a note section. Now to put in notes, you have to put in a text section. There are two different types. There's short and long form. So if you need something where you're just going to be typing in one or two words, text is a great one. If you're going to be putting in long form notes, you want to use long text. And last thing I'll put in is a file section. I can do that actually from the small view here. And this allows me to attach any files that I may be using to the client itself. So one thing I want to point out is as I was adding these columns in, you'll notice on the other groups inside of this board, they were automatically being added. So if you make a change to the general layout of a group as far as different columns, changing colors, changing the order of those columns, it will update those throughout the entirety of the board. So if you've got 15 different groups inside of a board and you need to make a change across all of them, you don't have to make that change individually, which is another thing that's great about the CRM. This is how you create a basic board. Like I said, the group names and the column names are really just kind of fillers. You can use anything you like, and this type of thing can be used to track contacts, leads, projects, a million other things. What I'm showing you is about 5% of Mondays.com's total functionality, but I think for a lot of clients, this is most of what they're getting a CRM for, is this type of organizational and record-keeping functionality. So the last thing I'll show you is the other way to view this information. So as your business grows or your client list grows, this will become, you'll add more columns, which means it will push them off to the right out of view here, and it will also become much taller as you add those things, and it'll be harder to see all the information. So for that reason, you're given two views. You're given this quick view here, so when you have a long running list, you can see it at a glance, and then you also have a full page view. Or a half page view, depending on how you set it up. And the way to access that is to hover over the first column, and you'll see Open Item Page. Now when you click on that for the first time, it's going to give you a default, something about this wide that says Updates. So what you want to do is stretch that out, make that easier to see, and then go over here to the plus sign, click Add, and then you want to select Item Card. Once you select Item Card, it's going to give you the option to name it. In this case, the thing it makes sense to name it is Information. Once you title that, click the three dots next to it, and you want to set as board default, which means that every time you click the open here, it's going to open to that tab, so you can see the information. So as you can tell, it gives you a quick snapshot of the information here. But what's important about this view is that you can see everything at a glance. Now, if you have multiple different columns like we have here, it'll start to get where you can't see them all in this type of a view, even though it's a little bit easier. So the way I organize it is to add multiple different cards inside of here, so it's all easy to view at a glance. So I'll give you an example of what that looks like. To add a new card to this view, you simply go to these dots right here inside of the card itself, and then click the duplicate button. And then you can title this one something different, call it Info 2. And we'll do that one more time. Call this Notes. And now I'll go ahead and edit the size of these views. So you can change the height and width of these cards by simply clicking on and dragging this blue dot down here. And you can move them around by clicking and dragging the drag widget button in the top left corner. So I'm going to make these two side by side, and then this third one I'm going to go ahead and make this longer. And now the way that you change the information displayed is to click on the three horizontal dots inside of the card, go down to Settings, and then the first thing it'll open up here is a view of that card, and then to the right of it, a list of the information it's going to display. So for the sake of this, we're going to go ahead and just select down to Website for the first card, and then exit out. Second one, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to go from Service down to Location. And then the last one here, we're going to go ahead and go just long text and files. Let me go ahead and remove our phone number so you can see this. So typically the way I have this laid out is this first section here is basic information. The one to the right is more detailed information, and then on the bottom I typically will show notes and files. But again, all of this was just examples. Any way you want to lay this out, any information you want to store. The important part is that you can access that information in a list view here, or you can access all of the information by opening it up. So this is, like I said, a very small piece of the functionality that this service offers. It also offers high-end automation. I have a system set up inside of my own business that allows clients to submit tasks to me that are automatically attached to their files and that notify me. All that's done in-house. Highly recommend this as a CRM. And go ahead and turn our phone number back on so you can see it. If you're looking for someone to set up this CRM for your business, teach you how to use it, consult on any troubleshooting you may have, we do offer that as a service, so please give us a call. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Number's 866-993-1674. Our email's down there as well if you want to shoot us an email. We'd be happy to help you with anything you need. I hope this video was useful, and thank you for watching.